famous Bear Grylls. I'm going to seek out some of the most demanding and inhospitable places on Earth, where having the determination to live and the right survival skills can mean the difference between life and death. But to keep you alive, you might have to eat some truly hideous things. In this program, I'm going to show you just what's on the menu in the world's most remote jungles, deserts and mountains.
Man vs. Wild, presented by Radio Shack.
If you're stranded and lost in the wilderness, you've got to put your prejudices to one side. If it can keep you alive, then eat it. I'm going to start with something that's definitely not endangered, but as a first course, it's quite a mouthful.
Look at these guys. These are palm weevil grubs. Wow, I'll tell you what, these are the biggest grubs I've ever seen, look. And this is just the sort of place that they like. They feed off all this rotting, soft interior of the palm tree. But these are absolutely massive. And actually the locals eat a lot of these. They're like a delicacy. They're full of good protein and you can actually eat them whole. Look at it wriggling around.
It'll be worth every one of its 140 calories.
Holy smoke. That is drug. Horrible. And you know what? They can keep their delicacy.
Or go for 6 calories and a nice crunch.
There's a spider there, a crucifix spider, and they're called these just from the shape that where they sit in their prey, in that cross like crucifix shape. But this spider here, it does have some poison in it, but not enough really to harm it. Might just give a little nip. And so much of survival is about opportunistic hunting, and this is edible. Here we go. And grab him here, squeeze his head, and then put him in. Ugh. Just tastes of kind of guts and pus and brain.
But it's not about the taste, it's about the energy it can give you.
Check this out, this is a longhorn beetle. And let me just hold him down the bottom there. See him round this way. God, look at, watch him grabbing onto my fingers there. Get off you, bro. And these are actually edible, these things. But look at those pincers on. Look at the pincers on that. And these are so strong, these can actually strip bark off a tree. So I put my knife in there. Look at that, it just grabbed onto that. Amazing. So I'm gonna eat him. I don't want to take the head. Just cut that off. And then the rest of this, leg's still going, but the rest of that is edible. Oh, God. I'm going to take his legs off.
There's 4 times more protein in an insect than there is in beef.
Oh, I still bit my lip. God, like a big prawn that's been sitting around for weeks. Just all shell and rotting gut.
In the heat of the day here in the Sahara Desert, the temperatures shoot up to 130 degrees. There's so little to eat around here, it's just too hot. But if you keep your eyes open, you can spot the odd morsel.
See that? A little sand beetle. And when there's as little food as there is in the Sahara Desert, this is about as good as you're going to get. Check out this little guy. Oh, you want to watch out for him? This is a little camel spider. And these are, try and get him to be still, there we go. He's edible and he doesn't look very nice, but the dangerous bit of him, I don't know if you can see it, but let's hold him down there, are his pincers. That can give a nasty nip. Look, he's trying to even bite this. But the rest of him, if I get rid of that, is edible.
The camel spider is thought to have the most powerful jaws in relation to its size in the whole animal kingdom.
And that was the nasty bit. His front legs and the pincers. And then all of this is edible. And actually, God, look at that. That's just soft goo. And God knows what's inside that. I'm not particularly looking forward to eating this one. But it's going to be good. Bit of protein and energy. Ugh. It's like explosion of pus in my mouth.
Just like in the desert, here in the mountains you have to scavenge for every ounce of energy. You won't find the bugs that flourish in the hotter climates, but sometimes there'll be life-saving rations from much higher up the food chain. You might want to close your eyes now.
Icelanders eat almost every part of a sheep, you know, everything from testicles, heart, liver, even the eyeballs. Actually, I'm going to take this out.
Sheep eyeballs are extremely nutritious. They are high in protein and rich in vitamins A and D. Usually they're the first things to rot, but in this cold weather, these are still good. I'm going to boil this eyeball in one of Iceland's famous bubbling hot geothermal pools.
These are really okay to eat raw. I'm just going to dip it in here just to get any sort of bacteria off it. Give it a quick blast in the boiling water. And then this eyeball is going to be okay to eat. God, it's like chewing gristle full of cold gloop.
If that's hard enough to stomach, don't get me started on what you might have to do for drinking water.
And the only thing I can do is to drink my own pee. Ugh.
Been all over the world, dropping into some of the most unforgiving wildernesses. Overcoming the elements are one thing, but finding food is altogether a different challenge. I'm after some freshwater trout.
Okay, there you go, see him? Just down there. Okay, what I'm going to do is just see if I can dam this little bit of stream lower down and also then upstream and see if I can get them. Okay, just stay here.
The dams will stop the fish escaping, but always build the lower one first. They'll find it harder then to spot you, and it needs to span right across the water flow.
That's going to be the same upstream, and let's see if I can get it.
Stay out of sight as you move upstream, and once your next dam is built, you're ready to go fishing.
What I want to try and do here is come directly downstream of where they are, which is just there, and they have a blind spot just behind them, and then come up and try and get them with a stick. And the good thing about doing it like this is that even if I miss, the shock waves of that impact will concuss them. Here they are. Okay.
Some saltwater fish are poisonous, but freshwater fish are all right. There's just a small risk of hepatitis A. Fish skin has good nutritional value, so just take the head off, gut it, and wash it out.
And that is good to eat, just like this, straight out of the river.
Fish has 5 times more protein than red meat, and the minerals are lifesavers because they help fight off infections and boost the immune system.
I love Susie. I don't like bones.
With more than 1 million species of insects to choose from here in the rainforest, there should be plenty to eat. But you've got to treat some finds with respect and caution.
That's a langpipe. Look at the size of that claw. Think about his misery. And kill it. And that's straight through the brain. He's still wiggling, but he's not alive. He's definitely not alive. And these are meant to be a bit of a delicacy in Panama. Let's see what they're like.
Eating any raw flesh in this place is dancing with the devil. The mangroves are alive with bugs and parasites, which means you can get anything from dysentery to liver failure.
Oh, God. Man, that tastes awful. It's like foul. I suppose it's feeding off all of this stuff in here. Probably no surprise. Tell you what, and keep their delicacies aside.
It's not only crustaceans and fish lurking in the depths. Here's something just as slippery.
People are often scared of snakes. Think they're nasty, aggressive. You know, reptiles, but they're not. They're actually so shy. Here we go.
These snakes often excrete a foul-smelling liquid to protect themselves against predators.
And that is his little mouth. And as long as I bite off the head, I should be able to eat the whole body of this. It has to moving.
And now something to wash down the water snake. The Australian outback, your greatest enemy is thirst.
The sun is just so powerful.
Under normal conditions, you can survive about 3 days without water, but in this intense heat, it can be just a matter of hours.
And the only thing I can do is to drink my own pee. And this is something I've never done before. And I'm expecting it to be pretty horrible. But I need to keep those fluids going in.
But be careful, as urine is after all a waste product. But it could save your life.
And if I just peed on the ground, that's all those fluids wasted.
There are plenty of stories of people who have survived in the wild by drinking their own pee, but only do it as a last resort.
God, there's no getting away from it. Ugh. That really is pretty horrible. It's like warm and it's salty. And not my favourite.
I'm always on the lookout for a new technique, so I'm going for something a little different here in Kenya. In fact, very different.
One thing you can do if you're stuck out here with no water source at all is actually drink the fluid from a fresh elephant dung. Pretty disgusting, but it could save your life. Not one of the better drinks I've ever had.
In the subtropical Everglades, though, it's a very different kind of challenge. And you've really got to avoid taking risks with water. You'll lose far more of your fluids from getting ill than you'll ever gain from drinking contaminated water.
There's so much just rubbish floating around, and it's all the muck and all the dirt. And if I just get it like this, make it into like a sack. And see, this water's now coming out all nice and clear, and all the residue and the debris from the swamp should be all still trapped in here. And just to give you an idea of how much there is, that's what I'm trying to keep out of my water bottle.
And when it rains, thirst disappears and life seems so much better.
This is just like manna from heaven. Oh, so nice. Oh, hard rain.
But be warned, it won't be long before hunger sets in again, and you're gonna need all your nerve to tackle some of the planet's more unlikely dinners.
Blood, guts, and scales.
Up high in the mountains, there's nothing to eat or drink, so you've got to head on down. when you're down, the food can be eaten raw, but you've got to be brave.
Look at this, the little tree frog, and just scurrying around in the grass there. And you can actually eat these. Any of these frogs in the Everglades are fine to eat. They're no poisonous ones. You get poisonous toads, but they're much bigger and rougher. And as they say, any frog in the Everglades is a good frog.
One small frog could give you about 3 grams of fat and 75 hard-earned calories. Out in the desert, food is so scarce, you've got to keep your eyes open for anything that moves.
Between us, the crew have managed to catch one of these little sandfishes, and these are like little lizards. But what's amazing about this guy is that he uses his arms and his legs to actually like swim under the sand. And if I let him go, if I'm in deep sand, he will just shoot away straight into the sand and like burrow like a meter deep. And that's his way of getting away from predators. But let's let him go here and to see what he does. This sand is hopefully not too deep, so he should probably head for the deeper sand, but they're fast. And look, you see him already burrowing his way in here. See that? Look at it, amazing.
The local tribespeople dry out the sand lizard and use it to cure various diseases. I'm going for the raw, live version.
Oh, there he is. Got him again. That's how fast this little fella is. Just like disappears into the sand. But actually, he's also good food.
Off with his head, then munch the body. And if you're fighting for your own life, these are the kind of hard decisions you've got to take.
It's like a kind of big mix of blood, guts, and scales.
These fellas can contain some parasites and might be harbouring salmonella.
Yeah, here's one to show you. Oh, look, this is actually a fat-tailed scorpion. And these are one of the most poisonous scorpions in the world. Look at this, watch, if I put that there, he's trying to strike at it. And actually this has enough venom to kill a man.
If I was stung by one of these scorpions and I didn't get any help, I could be dead within 6 hours. The venom attacks your nervous system, which means convulsions and ultimately heart failure. And at least 100 people die every year in Morocco from scorpion stings.
And you can actually eat these, even though they're super, super deadly, you can eat them. But the first bit I want to get rid of is his stinger. And look, him strike, strike, strike. Hold him down. Take his head off. And then you can eat this bit.
With less than 10 calories per scorpion, I'd need dozens of these for a decent meal. And when the animals get bigger, hunger can make you do surprising things.
God. Look at this. Dead zebra. There's definitely a lion kill. And you can see where the lion's has taken it down, eaten all the meat, all the innards, and then leaves a bone and the skin for the vultures circling above. Amazing to see it just so close.
If I'm going to eat this zebra, I want to be sure that it's not going to poison me. The vultures are a good sign because they only eat fresh meat. There aren't any maggots, and this tells me that this kill is hours rather than days old. And if the carcass smells rotten, move on. But this meat is fresh and a great source of energy.
And this is so tough, the skin. But look at under all of this. I gotta peel the skin back.
Eating raw meat can put you at risk from botulism or E. coli. Very nasty and potentially life-threatening infections.
And this is actually how a lot of early man used to hunt. They actually weren't great hunters. They were actually good scavengers and pickers of berries. And opportunistic, following up where lions would eat. That's a nasty bit.
But there are parts of an animal, especially when eaten raw, that make even me squeamish. It's traditional for Berber men to eat goat's testicles. They're thought to enhance fertility, and it's certainly going to be a test of my manhood.
Merci, merci. No, I must say I've never eaten raw goat's testicles before. Merci, Mohammed.
There's plenty of potassium in a goat's testicle and about 135 unadulterated calories. Well, that's definitely a first for me. The Sahara would push anyone to their limits.
And the Berber actually told me that the fat from this is a real delicacy. But experience has taught me to be a little bit wary of Berber delicacies. And this is just pure camel fat. Oh man, that's horrible.
Out in the wild, you've always got to be on your guard, and danger doesn't always come from the expected places.
It's a Philiotis mushroom, this, and these are poisonous and nasty.
Ecuador is home to 8% of the world's animal species, and no one knows exactly how many of them are poisonous. But trial and error is not recommended.
What I've got here is a little fishing spider, and actually he's not so little, he's not a bad size. But what this guy would do is sit on the edge of the bank and he'll actually fish and catch little minnow, even the size of like my little finger. But this guy is poisonous, and what the locals say that if they get bit by this, they actually then eat it to try and counteract the venom. But I don't want to try that. I'm going to let this guy, let him go. Off you go. Look at this guy I've just found on the forest floor. It's a Sicilian, and these guys normally live underground, just feeding off worms and stuff. But because it's so wet here, it's been raining so much, he's literally forced up to the surface. And that is just amazing to actually come across one of these.
Although it looks like a snake, it's actually a legless lizard, and it lives off worms, spiders and insects.
And we're going to let him go and get back to him.
He might look good to eat, but he has poisonous glands under his skin, so he's not going to be my lunch. When it comes to which plants you can safely eat, there's no substitute for good local knowledge.
It's a Philiotus mushroom, this, and these are poisonous and nasty. And if I ate this could destroy my kidneys in 24 hours. And really, in the wilds, you don't want to take any chances.
As a general rule, avoid mushrooms with white gills. And if you really must risk one, test a tiny bit on your tongue and wait 5 minutes. But proceed with caution. The Panama rainforest is the second largest in the world, and it's a hotspot of intense biodiversity. I should be able to find something to eat here which isn't poisonous.
And look, you see this termite's nest here. And actually they're pretty fundamental to the jungle, termites, just because they digest so much of all the rotting wood. Look, you go, you see them all crawling out there? But actually all of these are edible. And they taste like a little bit zingy, you know, like kind of not very nice citrus.
But termites pack a surprising 560 calories in every handful.
Here you go, a couple of snails. It's not exactly very much, but these are clean and they're good to eat. And actually hawks will hunt for these and eat them. They're basically just a mussel and all edible. And you just want to get to the actual... pull them out. Like a giant cold bogey. Look at this monster grasshopper here. And these are so fast, you've got to grab these quickly. And often you try and go for it, it will jump, so you want to aim above it. Like that. He's not very happy about that. Okay, that's quite a whopper. I was going to take his head off. There you go. And then the rest of him now is edible, but really in the wilds, in a survival situation, you've got to leave your prejudices behind. And that is energy. Energy means movement, and movement is vital if you're going to self-rescue. So here we go.
The one good thing about grasshoppers is that they're packed with omega-3. But what a way to get it.
I hate that taste of just kind of creamy goo.
The best way to avoid getting sick is to cook whatever it is you catch. Cooking out is great, and I've always fancied myself as a bit of a chef.
This is a nasty killer of a snake.
And he's gonna be dinner. The Everglades are one of the toughest environments I've ever been in, and it's never easy to eat what looks like a pet.
This is a turtle, actually a cooter. Look, you can tell that from the spots on the side of the shell here. And these are really good source of meat, but also vitamins, minerals, and salts that are in the actual blood. And you really need some of these salts just in this humidity.
I can eat this turtle because it's not protected, but you must be sure you kill it quickly and effectively.
And that's it. Dead. That's his arteries cut. Eaten turtles before, I've always cracked the belly, gutted it, and then scraped all the meat and cooked it like that. But in the Everglades, what the Seminoles used to do is literally just cook it straight in its shell, sort of like a pressure cooker. And if I just put it on there and leave that for like an hour, that will cook and then give you a really good dinner.
Cooking time will depend on the size of the turtle, but one good way to tell when it's ready is that the shell is brittle and cracks.
And all I need to do now is get it off here. And then you see it just really brittle. I'm going to try this.
There's less than half a gram of fat in a portion of turtle and no carbs or sugar.
This is one of those times where you can say it really does taste quite like chicken.
There are more fish species in the Amazon than in the entire Atlantic Ocean. I'm going for the man-eating piranha. Piranha live in these sort of streams and they can be vicious, stripping animals that fall into the water in a matter of seconds. But that only happens when they're in large shoals of 100 or more. This pond's just too small to support that many, so I should be safe. Piranhas are tasty, but they're also difficult to catch.
Tell you what, they're quick, these fish. I need to find some shallower pools where I can really see what's on the bottom. I'll just get the camera and put it into the water, and you should be able to see them swimming around. Brilliant! Look at that! And imagine 1,000 of those. You can see why I just stripped the flesh of a human in seconds. Razor sharp teeth. And this guy is pretty well dead, and he still has the power to go straight through this.
It's essential piranha are cooked thoroughly because they carry harmful parasites.
I've got a little cooking rack here, and then wrapped in these leaves, I've got my piranha that I've caught, and these should be ready now. And look, there you go, those are those nasty teeth grinning away at me. But that smells great. So I'm going to put that onto this leaf here. And it's so nice just actually having a bit of time now to cook this properly and get something really decent to eat. For such an aggressive, unpleasant fish, it doesn't half taste good.
Here in the Sahara, make sure you don't get bitten by this, the horned viper. They can be as long as 3 foot, and their venom poisons your blood, causing hemorrhaging and heart failure.
Okay, got it. And there you go, you can just see the head there. But you want to be really careful. Even after you've taken the head off, you want to be careful. That's still got all its hemotoxic venom in its mouth. And you never just want to leave a snake's head out in the open after you cut it off. You want to either burn it or bury it. And look, body's still wriggling around. But this is a nasty brute and a killer of a snake. But I'm going to eat him.
You just peel back the skin, gut it,
And that's all the guts coming out the middle there.
wrap it around a stick and cook it over the fire.
Okay, let's have a look at this, Mohammed. You don't want to burn this, because actually it's really beautiful meat. Merci, Mohammed. Je vais le manger.
Bon appétit.
Merci.
Survival is all about having the guts to eat just about anything you find, even if it's from a camel's stomach.
Drinkable, but truly disgusting.
I don't claim to know everything about wild food, but what I do know is that I'll give it a go.
And what I'm looking for is the stomach. And the stomach itself is in 3 parts, so it can separate the liquids from the solids. And the bit I want is called the rumen, where it keeps the fluids. There we go. And I'm through. To the innards here. And look at that, that's amazing.
This rumen water is just like a reservoir.
And a nomad told me once how his uncle in the 1950s was lost in a sandstorm out here. And he actually ended up killing his camel to get at the rumen and all this fluid inside. And that actually saved his life.
If you don't find much water in the rumen, you might get some from the main part of the stomach, where the food's digested.
God, load of stench of camel digesting food straight out my nostrils. And here you go, look, if you bring camera over here and look inside, you can see everything that's been eating. And that's just sort of partially digested. And the fluid in this, again, is drinkable. God, that must have hurt when it went down its throat. Drinkable, but truly disgusting.
I love to climb, but sometimes I think, what have I got myself into?
Here, let me grab that camera off you.
If you've gone hours without fluids, you've got to get something to replace them fast. There are dates at the top of this palm tree which should do the trick.
I'll get myself some supper.
It's about 30 foot tall, but I reckon I can shin up it. But watch out for loose bark. It can cut you to ribbons.
Need to be, look, this is the stuff. You gotta keep your feet pressed into it like that and not put all your weight on one of them. It's hard work on the arms, this. Okay, I'm just gonna cut these down. In quite a precarious position up here. Just my arms have been rubbed raw by this bark. But I found a good number of these dates. And they don't look very ripe. But actually dates are the best desert food. Massive sugar, lots of energy, vitamin C, but also lots of minerals to replace the salts that I'm losing. Sweating here. So let's try it. Oh, yeah, really, really bitter.
To survive for any length of time in the wild, you need carbs and sugars, as well as a protein you get from meat, bugs and insects.
Even when you hit it, it doesn't always fall. And this is what I was after. One of the young sugar pine cones. And look, if you split this and then peel one of these leaves out, you get to these nuts in the middle, and they're pretty small, but there you go, see that little white thing's coming out.
To get the cones with the most pine nuts, try and get the ones straight from the tree.
I'm not sure though whether all the effort of finding all those rocks and throwing them, whether I've burned up more calories than I'm getting from these little things, but these are really good nutrition though.
A handful of pine nuts will give you a whopping 790 calories. The most energy-rich parts of the plant are the roots and its seeds, nuts and fruits.
This is Eskimo potato, this plant here. I pull this up. And get to the root of it. This is all edible. At this time of year, it's all a bit stringy. And the best way really is to, you know, roast this on a fire. But you can eat this raw. It's a bit muddy, but a really, really good food source. And many people say it's the most valuable food source in all of Alaska.
There are 300,000 classified plants in the world. 120,000 of them are edible. When it comes to berries, avoid the red ones. They're the most likely to be poisonous.
What I'm sitting under here is a wallaroo bush, and I can tell that just from these oval-shaped leaves with these yellow veins running through it, but more importantly because of these white berries that they've got. And these are edible. And they're also delicious. They sort of feel like blueberries when they pop in your mouth, you know. They've also got these seeds that are a little bit bitter, but you don't kind of notice that just because the rest of it is so sweet. And so much of survival actually is just about the psychology of it, you know, things that give you a lift and keep you going. And these berries are just so sweet. and tasty, and anything that makes you smile and will help you keep moving is a good thing when you're out in the wild.
Being out in the wilderness returns us to the way of life of our ancient ancestors, where hunting and scavenging were our only means of survival. Not everything I've eaten has been easy to stomach, but it's amazing what you can do when hunger and thirst push you to your limits.